Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
We'll see.
Motor or sail? You're a motor?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone at home. Public comment, agenda items only. Anybody? Anybody?
Want me to read it out loud to you? I'm looking.
Okay, we'll move on. Previous minutes from May the 23rd. Do I have an approval? Motion for approval?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried, thank you.
Bob, I wasn't here for that meeting, so I'm going to abstain from that.
Okay, Leslie, you got that? Communications, I have a note from Lankin Tully that our MS for municipal compliance certification has been filed with the county or state, either one, doesn't.
The state
The
filing.
state, that's the state filing, there we go. And it's on our website if anybody would like to look at it. I have a letter from James I. O'Neill inviting me to the graduation, and I cannot attend it because I'll be working. I'll start off with Councilman Sullivan. Would you like to go?
Yeah, I've participated in about 15 of them so far, so I wouldn't mind
It's on
going.
June 22nd, 7 p.m. at West Point.
Thank you.
Pass this on to Councilman Sullivan, and he can call them up and
you
tell them you're coming. Now, I have another graduation, which is the intermediate school, moving up ceremony. This will be 6:30 p.m. At the O'Neill Auditorium on June the 21st, which is a Tuesday, and I'm also working. Would you like to go, Ty? Yep. Okay, if you would call them up and tell them that you will be there. Okay, this invitation may be just to me, but I don't think it is, and I don't care if it is or not. We'll invite the entire town board. Town of Highlands Volunteer Ambulance Corps invites you and a guest, it's me and a guest, I'm sorry, guys, to Round Pond Happy Mountain Pavilion. I never knew, oh, wait a minute, that's Round Pond, so the Happy Mountain Pavilion for a barbecue celebrating our volunteers for their dedication and loyalty to our residents on Saturday, June the 18th, 2022, beginning at noon. I will be able to make that. The 4th of July committee, which there's been a whole bunch of talk about it and everything else, but regardless of who is going to run it, they are looking for contributions. They send out letters to the businesses, starts out at a gold level of $250, platinum level $1,000 or more, and you get an acknowledgement in the paper, and your name will be announced in a few different ways. So regardless of who's running it or what's going on, it costs money. It costs a lot of money. And so if anyone is in a position that they can donate, most certainly do so. And that'll be a check to the 4th of July committee, mailed to P.O. Box 200, Highland Falls, New York. Okay, financial reports. We transferred $66,955 from the consolidated account to the accounts payable to cover this week's check run. The bigger items are the Rockland City, it's Rockland County, solid waste, $26,196. Ryder Winnow Frankel, legal fees, $9,557. O&R Utilities, $2,919. Global Montello for diesel, $5,424. Devitt's Nursery and Supply for Beautification, $2,444. Any questions on that? No questions?
No questions.
We'll move on. Board liaison report, starting with Councilman Sullivan. Yes.
Okay. So good evening, everybody. I won't be too long-winded tonight. The Zoning Board of Appeals, as I always say, meets on the third Wednesday of the month. They've been meeting remotely for a couple of years now. This Wednesday night here at 7 o'clock, they will meet here in Town Hall. They have a public hearing on a variance, an area variance in Highland Falls, and they have an initial action to do an interpretation for a zoning boundary on Mine Dock Road in R1R. The planning board, which most of it is sitting in front of me, it has Pine Hill, I believe, is on the agenda, and I think Rick Minicozy, and I say this politely as I can, he was a little bit late with some of his submissions, but the professionals were kind in looking at them, and you're prepared to have him before your meeting, is that correct?
That's my understanding,
Okay.
although I haven't heard definitively from
I
the
think
chairman.
Sean stated pretty much the same thing, so he'll be a go on that. And I think he's got a lot of things on the table. I think it's the church, 341 Main Street.
341.
That is the subject property. So that's here this Thursday at 7 o'clock in person. On the sewer, a little bit of trauma with the sewer, but I'm going to come clean on it. So on Sunday, June 5th, we had a reportable incident involving a pump station behind Jimmy Ripa's house, which is a three-phase pump station. One of the transformers was taken out by a lightning strike, and the lightning strike also took out the standby generator. It took by the alarm system that dials my phone and other people's phones in the event of emergency, and the red light that goes off didn't function either. So it was believed to be a couple hours to a half a day that was down by I want to say Jimmy Ripa, who lives there, is a great neighbor, and he normally calls me or someone from the sewer department if that light isn't flashing or is flashing. So this time it wasn't flashing, but he called me anyway at about 11:45, and by 3:30 that afternoon, there were 3 O&R trucks replacing the transformer. Tam had a standby generator, the sewer department was there, the generator repair guy was there. All the while, these people are in their backyard on a Sunday in a swimming pool, never once complaining. Jimmy Ripa is a very good neighbor for having that pump station in his backyard for all these years. He always calls when anything's wrong, and I want to thank them. And I think Frankie Lillis also called Pat Patterson when he was upstate at that convention. So the neighbors let us know, and it was addressed. And the reporting we had to do to the DEC was done. On the water, the never-ending debacle with the water meters. So the latest with the water meters is with Verizon going from 3G to 5G. The meters themselves are healthy, but the reporting is not that healthy. And that's between T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, going from 3G to 5G. I feel like we should go back to CB radios back in 1976. I think it worked better. I really do. In the building department, thank God for the technologies we've adopted, because Gabby had something wrong with her car today. She was able to fully function from home, computer-wise and telephone-wise. That phone goes right to her phone at home, so she was working from home today. And I know Melanie, who's been very good with her reporting on the building department, reads this off, but I'll read it off anyway. This is a combined tally for the village and the town for the month of May of 2022. There were 20 permit applications were received, 15 were issued. There were 16 certificates of compliance. 1 certificate of occupancy was issued, 14 building permit inspections, 1 fire safety inspection, 6 violation notices were issued, 16 municipal searches were completed, 1 zoning variance application, and there were 8 FOIL requests. It's so valuable having Gabby in that office, because a FOIL request can take a building inspector 2 to 5 days sometimes to fulfill them. So she's there to carry that load. Not to do with the town of Highlands, but on May 26th, I was interested in what was going on in the town and village of Cornwall. So I attended their meeting at Village Town Hall, where they basically had a joint meeting to decide to discontinue Kovac, which one of their members is back there manning our camera, and to sign a contract with the New Windsor EMS to provide coverage. I'm not going to go too into detail. I have a fact sheet from them. It was a pretty serious meeting, and I was rather intrigued that they were able to meet jointly. At least they pulled that much off. They were able to meet jointly, you know. And they did choose to sign with New Windsor EMS. I think June 30th is the last day, Ryan, not mistaken? Okay. The Community Environmental Advisory Committee, we attempted a Zoom meeting last week, but thankfully, or unthankfully, for the Pope Lopen Bridge, for like the third night in a row, there was an accident, and I was coming across the Bear Mountain Bridge. It took me about an hour and a half to get home, so I Zoomed with Olga while I could, in between dead spots on the Parkway. We talked about the internship, we talked about the charging station in Fort Montgomery, and a few other things, and I know that, I say this with sorrow, Jim's wife Cindy will probably not be in that committee much longer, and Mindy said she's going to retire perhaps. We're going to try and put a stop to that, but the committee has been very successful, and I'm sure Olga and Mindy will talk a little bit here about, they'll be looking for new blood. And then finally, I have a friend of mine from high school, a year behind me. His name is Peter Ford. I mentioned him in the last meeting. And he set up a meeting of his own benevolence. He paid for it in the Eisenhower room of the Hotel Thayer with the AOG. Jim was kind enough to put me in contact with Michael Hauser a couple of months ago. And he has a person on the payroll named Christine McDonald. And she runs what's called the Connect program, which has been working with the schools locally since March. And they're growing. And it's a great program. The AOG is funding the whole thing. There's a little bit of a space challenge in the intermediate school, but I don't know if they have cadets coming down. I think they do. They're providing enhanced programs for the kids after school, and it's growing. And along with that, Peter and I are pretty friendly with Brian Riley, the coach of the hockey team. He spoke for a couple of minutes, not about how a wing should score a goal, but about the 72 years that the Rileys have coached up at West Point altogether. And I don't think Brian's quite done yet, but he's so respectful that part of this weekend gathering that we had, we hiked to the top of the Torn, which I've done many, many times, and there's some benches up there. And when Brian was speaking, he was talking about the two bracelets that he wears, which are two cadets that he had that skated for him that died in action. One of them was Derek Hines, I believe was his name, and the other one, I forget his first name, his last name is Kennedy. And we walked up to the top of the Torn, that one bench, he died, I believe, in 2012, was for Mr. Kennedy. So out of respect, he wears those bracelets on his wrist, and it was a great speech, and he kind of tied that in with the West Point, Highland Falls, Fort Montgomery relationship and trying to make it better. So although nobody here knows him, my friend Peter Ford set this all up. You'll be hearing from him soon, because I think he's going to move back here in the not too distant future. And that's it.
Got a question for you. The transformer on Bridge Terrace there, I know this is not the first time that it's been hit by lightning. Is there no such thing as a lightning arrestor on those types of poles?
Well, I think there should be, or is, but along with that, there's redundancies. So it took that out, traveled through the pumping system, and took out all these beautiful things we pay a lot of money for the standby generator to function and the alarm not to go off. So when I was there, I was like, I may not be the smartest guy, but if we pay like $5,000 for all this stuff to be replaced, could you put something in that actually take a lightning strike or prevent it from getting it? Because the generator, the circuit board was taken right out also. Did a lot of damage. So I'm not sure of the technology, but that's happened like 5 times since I've been on this board.
I know this at least the second time, but that's, I'm sure there was more.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Councilman King?
Oh, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and good evening, everyone at home. Only a few notes from me. I won't be as eloquent as my esteemed colleague here with the plethora of information that he's able to regurgitate from his notes. I'll just keep it short. But let's start with the police negotiations. Not much to say other than the fact that they're still ongoing. However, the two attorneys from both sides are really close to coming up with a final agreement. They are now in dialogue, opposed to us having meetings consistently with me and the PBA. Because we've hashed out all the big things, and it's just a few, I think, minor things that still has to be closed out. But I'm hopeful that it'll be done soon. We're coming up on Juneteenth weekend. Believe it or not, it's back again. I just remember the time where we initially started this celebrations, and in fact, probably most people in this room, if not myself, to be included, to say, what is Juneteenth, right? I didn't grow up knowing about Juneteenth here in New York. This is a holiday that originated in Texas, because the way the history has been written is that Texas was where the last holdout of slaves were, where the Union Army had to be sent to make them free in 1865. That being said, we had a service member here that was from here named Laura Lanier. She was in the Air Force, got stationed out in Texas. She went to O'Neill High School. But upon her ending time in service from the Air Force, she came back home and to St. Mark's Church and began to tell her congregation and her parents about this Juneteenth celebration. Now, at the time, she got some resistance. She didn't, everybody was like, what is that? They didn't really embrace it. So when I came home in 2014 and retired, this young lady who happened to be the best friend of my daughter since kindergarten, not my daughter, my sister since kindergarten, had passed suddenly. She was an employee on West Point, was getting up for work one day, and suddenly passed away at 40-something years old and left behind 2 children. So like every day, my sister was crying about her friend. And then I thought to myself, here's a service member, a veteran that came back to her community, brought some information that wasn't present, and really tried to serve after her service. We're gonna let her die and go into oblivion. So I said, we gotta start this Juneteenth thing back up. Now I had to research, find out what it was at that time. This is 2015. And when I Googled Juneteenth, where is it celebrated in the world? Believe it or not, one of the places that popped up was Highland Falls, New York. I couldn't believe it, because she had taken the steps to make sure that it was in the internet. So I said, okay, this is what we'll do. We'll make it bigger, we'll make it better, make it more celebratory in her honor, to make sure that they have to call Laura Lanier's name from this point forward. And so here we are 6 years later, and after the year, they've made it a national holiday. A national holiday. So what we've been doing here has been drawing people from all over the country. We usually start with an event on Friday night. This year what we'll do is just host a little meet and greet on Friday night at the center here in Highland Falls, 7 p.m. It's going to be nothing special other than folks who are coming into town have somewhere they can meet and greet. Secondly, on the 18th of June, which is Saturday, this coming Saturday, we will have a parade of sorts down Main Street. It's more like a march than it is a parade. So anybody who wants to participate in this parade, if you got a vehicle, you got 2 feet, if you got a bike, you got a wheelchair, whatever you have that you want to participate, you're welcome to come in this parade. You don't have to be African American, by the way, because what we think this is a symbol of freedom, and anybody who loves freedom is welcome. So we're going to start at Southgate. We'll be there at 10:30 and line everybody up. The lead element will be the Buffalo Soldiers Motorcycle Club, West Point chapter. So they'll be out front. Myself and a bunch of kids from an organization called United Highlands Youth are going to be the next element. And then we have Mr. Harold Brown. I keep saying Harold all day long. Harold has passed, rest in peace. But his brother, Enoch Brown, will be the Grand Marshal. So we're gonna have him, and then anybody else will fall in after that. And we'll get on down to the Memorial Park, where we'll do the flag raising ceremony, which will include a guest speaker from Newburgh, New York. The Honorable Anthony Grice, councilman, will come over and speak for a few minutes. And then we'll have a couple of other things. The flag goes up, and then John Flynn, the commander of the American Legion, will lead us in some celebratory music. We'll have a few vendors out there, by the way. So it's just short, sweet, hometown USA kind of stuff, but we're hoping that everyone comes out and celebrates with us. Now, moving on to the Highlands United Youth. I just spent some time with these young people. And was I surprised at the impact that they are making on a short existence? Just during the period of time where our beloved people in Ukraine have been going through, strife and turmoil, these young kids took it upon themselves to raise $3,000 to send over as a way to support the Ukrainians. And they did that on their own. Secondly, what they did is raise $900 or over $900 to have a community fun day. They just said with everything that's going on in the world, they wanted to have some fun in the community. They went out and did the fundraising and put together a phenomenal event last Sunday or Sunday before, I think it was, at the Fickens Field. So these kids should be recognized. And what I intend to do is recognize them at the Juneteenth celebration, to thank them for what they're doing in this community. They are our future. And then that leads me into something that I'm observing. It's an observation of mine. And this is from talking to parents and talking to youth. So we all know the devastation that has recently occurred in Uvalde, Texas, in Buffalo, New York, by way of what we call mass shootings in this country that are way too frequent. But it's to the point now, right here in Highland Falls, New York, some of our young people are literally, in my opinion, without being a doctor or a psychologist, experiencing something that's similar to what we in the military experience as post-traumatic stress survivors. Because what I mean by that, so I'm hearing that a child at 5 years old that normally would sleep through the night woke up in the middle of the night and asked his parents or his mother to get into bed with them and said he had a bad dream. Well, the mother, of course, said, come, get in. The next day she thought about it and said, what was the dream about? She said, Mommy, it was a person came to the school and he was shooting everybody and then he killed me. This, I have to say, was one of the most painful things I have heard since I've been here in home out of the military, to hear that this 5-year-old child had this type of stress or this type of trauma thinking about this type of thing at that age. But it wasn't just that one. I'm told that in our schools here, we recently had a thing that we thought was a threat, but it turned out after investigation to be a non-threat. However, the impact was that the next day, in one of the schools, the lights went out inadvertently, act of God, whatever, and a noise was made. Kids thought it was gunshots. It started to convey this to one another, and to the point where it got to someone's home where, as they tried to wake their child up to go to school, the child said, I'm not going. Somebody's going to be shot today. This is in Highland Falls, New York. So this is trauma. This is people who are, their mental wellness is in jeopardy. So one of the things I want to do, supervisor and board, for my own mental wellness, I've been studying something called therapeutic equine, where we use horses to heal humans. And I've gathered a number of friends in that business, from New Jersey to Connecticut to Massachusetts, and even some in New York, Mount Kisco, for example. I'm going to see if we could put together something real soon to offer a experience of therapeutic equine for these young people that will be free of charge. That way they can get introduced to this at least, and maybe have a way to continue it on. But something has to be done. Something has to be addressed. I've also reached out to the center, who's actively talking to Orange County about bringing in some counselors to help address some of these issues. But I wanted to share that to the public, so that way you can monitor your children at home and don't discard some of these things that they may be saying to you as just frivolous. Take their words seriously and then get them the necessary help. That's all I have, Supervisor.
And I think that was plenty.
Yeah.
And I don't mean the length of time. I think it was very well thought out, very well put. And it's an example of what I've been talking about, is that the folks out there got to listen to you guys. Just listen to you guys. Thank you very much, Ty. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Well, Ty, like Bob just said, some good stuff. And I kind of want to just say about, I just want to address kind of all the happy community things that happened here this weekend. Whether it was therapeutic or not, I don't know, but I feel this weekend was one of those banner hometown weekends. And I want to give a shout out to Jimmy Ramus and all the crew that got together and did a really fun fishing program this past Saturday at Roe Park. I drove by shortly, and they had a great turnout. And just to see the kids, families, moms, dads, kids all playing together, fishing together. When I was up there, I think some kid pulled out an 18-inch bass out of Roe Park. But it was just one of those banner family community days up there, and I really wanted to shout out again to the crew that put that together. It was a nice day. And then on more of a business side, you heard us talking for a couple months about the electronics recycling program. Well, that went down Saturday morning, and it was wildly successful. We had a great turnout. The truck that was brought up was packed right to the ceiling, and Pat Patterson and Tiffany Montalisi wanted to shout out to the community that how much they appreciated that everybody participated, brought their stuff out, and thanked them. And everybody was really happy about it, and obviously it was a great opportunity to get rid of a lot of evil electronic, stuff. And Pat wanted me to remind everybody that even though it's the law that we have to get rid of electronics recycling in that way, you can't put it in the garbage. But a program like this saved us so much in tipping fees and not having that weight go into the garbage, besides being environmentally sound. Again, you've heard recycling saves money for our community and benefits, the environment at the same time. So again, we should be seeing more of these programs. I think, again, it was really successful and well utilized. So thanks again to Tiffany and Pat Patterson, Tiffany Montalisi, and Jack Stevens was there for moral support for a big part of the morning too. But thanks, I want to again thank them for making the program happen. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think I've conveyed this before, and I've been supervisor for almost 18 years. I've had a number of boards and a number of different people on the boards and everything. And this particular board I hold near and dear to my heart. Everybody does a great job. Everybody speaks well at the meeting and tells everybody what they're doing. It's just a great thing for me, a supervisor, to have people like this working with me, not for me, but with me. And I'm very sad to see one of our members is going to be leaving us. Councilman Modlin, you're up.
Oh, okay, well, thank you.
And we'll lead it and don't blow it.
And good evening, everyone. Yes, this is my last board meeting. I will be resigning from the board. I think some of you may know perhaps that I've decided to retire, and some family members say it's well overdue. So that's a little internal debate going on. But at any rate, I have decided to retire. And we are moving. In fact, we have moved within the last week to the Mid-Atlantic area, closer to family. We've been in Highland Falls, living in Highland Falls, in the town of Highlands since 2014, summer of 2014. And during that time, it seems like we've been celebrating marriages and births of grandchildren. My wife and I, and she unfortunately can't be here tonight, sends her regards to everyone, but yes, you guessed, she's with a couple of our grandchildren right now. And that's a big piece of what's happening. We have 7 grandchildren. I am retiring, and it just makes a whole lot of sense that we move closer to family. The community here is like a second family to us. It always has been. I want to thank all of you on the board and all of you in the community for your friendship and your support. And you have been a second family to us. And to tell you the truth, we've tried to get some of our sons to move up here, and it's just not working. They're in their careers and doing their families, and it's just not working. So we're moving closer to them. But with that means that I do have to leave. And not quite as we had expected in terms of all of this, but from the timing of it, but it does make a whole lot of sense. The thing that pushed us over the edge was about this time last year, I think, grandchild number 6 was going to be born in August, and about that time we found out about grandchild number 7, who has since been born, and we're sort of getting indications that there may be a number 8 coming around here sometime soon. So at any rate, we got to get engaged with things, and so I just want to thank all of you, members of the board. It's been such a pleasure working with you, and all the town employees. That I heard this before, but it's really true. Not until you do this kind of thing do you really understand and get an appreciation for the dedication and everything that our town employees do. And so for those of you that are here and those that may be listening, just want to thank you for all of your support. And of course, to the residents of the town of Highlands, just thank you so much. The support that you gave during the Chamber of Commerce days, and then just being friends and support here on the board. It's just been such a pleasure. We're only going to be about 4 hours away, so even though we won't be living here, don't be surprised if you see us going up and down Main Street and saying hi to people occasionally and stuff like that. So that's my way of saying we will be staying in touch. So again, thank you very much. I do really appreciate it.
Jim, let me say thank you very much for your service. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Okay, actually, I have a couple of things myself tonight. I normally skip over that spot that says supervisor's report, but I have a couple of things. Some of you folks may have noticed down at the Brooks Park on Saturday, the Fort Montgomery, was it elementary or preschool or whatever they call that? So what do they call that?
You mean field day?
Yeah.
Friday.
Oh, that was okay. Things that you've been talking about the kids in Texas. And I'm standing there on the road there, and I'm looking down at this field. Nothing but motion from all these little kids. Every corner of that field was being used by someone, playing, having a great time. It really, really looked like a great thing and something to be proud of for our town, and these kids to be playing in our town park. So I applaud them, the school, for going down there. Although I do have a comment. They didn't tell me they were going to do that. If you're all listening out there, you can have Brooks's Park anytime you want. You just got to kind of reserve it. But that's no big deal. They had a great time, and that's the most important thing. I got a phone call from Senator Skoufis, and it's almost getting to be a joke now. It wasn't a joke to the people that had the accident on Popolopa Bridge, but the excuses that they give us are really getting ridiculous. Now, when they started the project, they said about a year ago that they were having trouble getting the parts, the equipment, the materials needed to do the job. Now, 1 year later, they still haven't gotten the parts and materials and what have you, and they discovered that the hinges were cracked. I can't imagine they didn't know this a year ago, or 2 years ago, because that's when the project started. They got some pins in that were too small and weren't able to be used, but they have to be specially manufactured. So, you can't do those things real easy. Now, here's the worst part of it. He asked them when they anticipated being done, and the answer is in the late fall. The late fall. Can you imagine that? The entire summer is going to go by, and nothing is going to be done there, or the work is going to be done, but I can't imagine putting these hinges in with the pins, and it's going to take all that time. I don't know. I'm sure you know more than I know about this, Richie, but
Not much. We've both looked here. Here's what I do know. The first bridge, there's two bridges there side by side. The first bridge was built in 1916. The second one was in 1935. The company down there working now was here back in 1987, doing an extensive repair to the bridge. When Spitzer was governor for a short period of time, they red flagged that bridge. It had work done on it then. What they should have done years ago, since the two bridges side by side, is put all the traffic on one, took the other one out completely and replaced it, and then did the same thing on the other side. I've seen it done time and time again in my career, and those bridges are still 1916 and 1935 riveted trusses underneath, and that's what they're going to stay as being. And I don't expect this to be a final fix. I think within the next decade there'll be more trauma on one or the other. So if I had a say in Albany, it would be to replace it just the way I said, one side then the other side.
Thank you. So anyway, that's the story on Popolopan Bridge. Today, I took a walk up the street and introduced myself to the new police chief from Highland Falls. First impression, I was very impressed, very impressed. She told me a little history of what she's done since she's been a police officer for, I think, 25, 28 years, something like that, a very long time. She knows everybody there is to be known in police work in Orange County. I told her, and she told me, but kind of in the same sentence, that my door is open, her door is open to me. And what I really like, now I've been supervisor, as I mentioned before, for like 18 years, and our two police chiefs have not had the best harmony working with each other. Now I'm going back to Chief Whiffen, and I think it was Chief Miller from the village. Just a quick story was, but both of them really won't care what I say, but the first time that they spoke to each other was at my granddaughter's graduation from the police academy at a restaurant that I invited them all to. So, I mean, that's how things were back there. Things have gotten better and what have you, but since Chief Whiffen knows this person since she was 14 years old, I think we'll have a great harmony between both chiefs and both police departments. And she knows you very well too, Chief.
I've known her probably for most of my career.
So, like I said, I was very impressed. It was very, very nice to stop in, and she was very cordial. Okay. Justin, you're next. Tell us about the courts and what we're either going to do or not do on combining court days.
Yeah, so your judges and court clerks have requested that they be permitted to add a third court date for traffic court violations. And although they have a control over their own schedule, there's a fiscal impact to that. The prosecutor would have to come a third time a month, so there's an additional $500 charge a month. And before they started scheduling those matters, they wanted to make sure that the town board would approve that cost.
Okay, does the town board have any problem with that?
No, just a question, because I don't know. Is one only available at night still? Is that what's driving this, or one of the judges?
Well, I'm not sure if that's driving it, but the one judge is only available at night.
Yeah, but I don't believe that's the driver on the matter. It's simply a matter of the amount of cases that they have and the, there's sort of a village day where certain things have to occur, and even though everything's under one umbrella, there has to be some distinction in how that court is handled. So, so that was the request, that they be able to schedule a third day.
And I have to give credit to Christine. This was her brainstorm, and she checked with all the right people to see that if this could work. And where she was finding that the village court sessions were, I'm just going to use numbers, like 10 people, where if they could throw in 20 town court cases, it would be more economical, and you're bringing in 4 court officers, I believe it is. So that would make it better. I give her all the credit in the world for coming up with this and doing a good job. So we're at the point now where it's okay with the town board to spend the extra $500 a month? Any objections? Okay.
Okay.
Do we
Well,
need a motion or anything, Justin?
it's preferable to have the motion, but I'll notify the court.
Okay.
Well, is there any cost offset with the additional
Well-
court night fines, does that come back to us at all?
So sure, I mean, your courts are, they don't act as economic generators, but nevertheless, if they are moving more cases through the court system, yes, there will be more fines assessed, and ultimately, part of that comes to you.
Yeah, I didn't mean to sound that way. You know what I meant.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Chief, do you have anything?
I believe you received the two
I have those two, yep.
resignations.
We're
Okay.
going to act on them.
Chief and I met with the new chief from the village of Highland Falls, and we're going to meet again, and we are going to try to do a, like, joint traffic enforcement on 9W, to kind of saturate 9W, to try to alleviate some of the mishaps that are happening between the firehouse and the bridge. Figured I'd mention that tonight, so
Okay,
the public
good.
can hear it, that traffic laws are there for a reason, for everybody's safety.
And that's the right spot, because I live on 9W, and it's a fast road. It really is. And actually, the truckers, the big tractor trailers that go through, I don't want those guys to lose their livelihood. But I think if every once in a while an officer were to stop them and say, you know, you were doing 65, 70 miles an hour, whatever, I'm writing your plate down, on your company down. If I get you again, you're getting a ticket. Things like that, I really believe you only got a 1 mile stretch. So you're telling these guys, you go through this 1 mile stretch, slow down. Simple as that. But anyway, we'll talk more about it.
That's it?
That's it. Thank you. I have a very short letter. This correspondence is to inform you and the town that I will be resigning effective May 31st. William Sherwood, Officer William Sherwood. I have a motion to accept the resignation of...
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. I have a letter from the Department of Health that they will be larviciding, if that's the right way to pronounce it, the municipal-owned catch basins. The Orange County Department of Health has contracted with Allymore Incorporated Pestmaster Services to provide a larvicide application to municipally owned catch basins. The larvicide will be used, will be Altacid methotrexate briquettes. This will prevent mosquitoes from breeding in the catch basins. Pestmaster Service expects to start larviciding in your town, village, or city from June through October. They will be in vehicles identified as belonging to Pestmaster Services, and workers will be carrying identification. Typically, after the storm drain has been treated, they will paint a mark in orange, indicating that it was treated. Additionally, mosquito experts from Orange County Community College will continue to trap throughout Orange County until November 2022. They will also carry identifications. If you have any questions, I have a telephone number for the health department to call. I have a letter. I have recently accepted a full-time position as deputy with the Brevard County Sheriff's Office in the state of Florida. This will be considered my formal notice of resignation from my position as police officer with the Town of Highlands Police Department, effective immediately. I am aware and do apologize for this short notice, as I was notified formally today with a start date of June the 13th. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve with the Town of Highlands for over the past 4 years, as I have gained significant work experience, and it has considerably helped me to get to the position that I'm grateful to be in today. Again, I thank you for the opportunity, the experience, and the knowledge I have gained serving the Town of Highlands Police Department. Respectfully, P.O. Andrew Markunis, badge number 136. Do I have a motion to accept?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried, thank you. Jim, do you want me to read your letter?
That's okay. It's up to you. But that's all right.
Well, then I will. Dear Supervisor Libsey, Town Board members, and the Town of Highlands residents, it's with mixed emotions that I submit my resignation as Town Councilman of the Town of Highlands effective June the 14th, 2022. The opportunity provided to me by the residents to serve this community as Town Councilman has been a highlight of my 8 years of residence in the Town of Highlands. After a 45-year career in the military, corporate business, and higher education, I have decided to retire. We will be moving out of the state to be closer to our family and especially our 7 grandchildren. I would like to sincerely thank the supervisor and town board members for your support, friendship, and camaraderie. I have learned so much from each of you. I wish the very best to our town employees and thank you for your dedication to our Town of Highlands community. To the residents of this town, I wish you the very best in all of your endeavors. My sincere thank you to all. Jim Modlin. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Motion to accept the resignation?
No one wants to make the motion, Jim.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We should all be opposed. Okay, we got through that. Okay, the 3rd of July event with Charlene Yale, the head of the Chamber of Commerce, is proposing an event at Mindock Park, Dancing Under the Stars from 6 to 10 to this location. They're going to provide generators, they're going to provide everything down there. The only thing they're asking for, Chief, is maybe one police officer to handle any traffic and/or problems down there. So this would be on July the 3rd from 6 to 10. I think if I didn't send this, I'll send this off to you.
Yeah, I think Chief Pierre responded. They're talking about is after the thing is over with, it's probably gonna be dark by then, right?
Yeah.
And then people coming out of the one way in and one way out area may need some assistance getting out of there safely.
So anyway, I'll ask for a motion to allow this event to take place, providing they provide us with the necessary insurance documents.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, so carried. We had, our last meeting, I think it was, Olga, that we decided that we would go along with this program for an internship. You and your committee have found a young lady, a local young lady, Erica Affronte, who we would like to put into that position of internship. Kelly, you're going to help me out here. She's going to be paid what?
$15 an hour. She's gonna be paid $15 an hour.
$15 an hour, okay.
And she'll be, will be reimbursed 90% by NYSERDA.
Yeah, and the other 10% by Jeff Demansky's organization. So she'll be completely covered her costs.
Okay, and once we approve her, we also are going to need an approval from Orange County.
Correct.
So I'll ask for a motion to, I guess, hire is the word, Erica Affronte into internship with the, what committee would she be working for, through?
Well, she'll be working with the town.
With the town?
Yeah.
Yes. But she's being,
Sponsored by the Environmental Committee.
that's where I was getting, okay.
She
So
likes to use CEAC for that committee.
Oh, okay. I thought it was an Olga committee. I didn't know. Anyway, I'll ask for a motion to
I'll
to
make
hire
that
this
motion.
young lady, dependent on Orange County approval, and I'll also say with a 1 year, do we need
It's only a
probation?
10-week, it's only a 10-week program.
Well, I'll put her on, I think we'll put her on probation for 10 weeks. Okay? Well, hey, you never know.
Never know.
Especially when Orange County's putting his nose into it.
Okay.
Okay, so I got a motion, I got a second. All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
So carried, thank you.
I'd like to thank Kelly, because I know there's some work involved for creating a position with the never-ending debacle with the Orange County Civil Service. I love them so much.
Now that Jim is leaving us, there are certain liaison areas that he was in charge of. For the time being, I plan on doing those myself, which would be ambulance, West Point Public Relations, and Community Business Relations. To start out, I'll do them myself, and we'll see where we go from there. Unless somebody from the board wants to jump right in and say, I'll do that.
West Point for me.
Crickets?
Yeah, sure. You would like to
Yeah,
do the West Point?
it's all right with the board?
All right, you said you want to be the West Point liaison?
Board-
Yeah.
Board's got nothing to say about it. It's my choice.
Sorry, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so you'll do West Point Relations. Good, very good. And then Community Business Relations. I wonder who could be good with that?
His last name starts with S.
Okay. Is there any other business that I missed?
Just, Joe mentioned before how benevolent yesterday was in his community, the whole weekend. So I did see Ty yesterday at the farmer's market. I don't know if you were there, Olga. I don't think I didn't remember. Well, anyway, our problems are solved because Brian Howard was there tending to their book collection. And I picked up a book for $2 on modern methods of activated sludge treatment at sewer plants. So we're all set to go. It was right there. I got it. I forgot to bring it up, but I got it.
In all seriousness, I would like to sit down as soon as possible with you and talk to you about the sewer plant.
Yeah.
Whenever you're not working, you got time to stop in.
I
just let me
think
know.
Thursday or Friday morning of this week I'll be able to do. I know Thursdays are better for you than Fridays, so, yeah.
Because I was very impressed by the Highland Falls sewer plant when I went through there. Anyway,
And since without ending on sludge, I forgot to mention all the good stuff, the fireman's dinner too. That was another great community event. I forgot to, we were just talking about that and it slipped my mind when I was speaking. So I said it, good, banner weekend all around. Farmer's market started again, good stuff.
yeah.
Thank you.
Public comment, anybody?
Thank you for your information about the briquettes. I did call the public health department. I did not get any answers, really. I think one of my concerns when I first saw the
Audio.
Can you hear me if I talk louder?
No,
Okay.
People at home can't hear you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Ryan.
With regard to the mosquito spray, I think my concern, obviously, I think we do need to be concerned about mosquitoes. They do transmit viruses, so I'm not going to say that there isn't an issue there. One of the things that came out during the pandemic that I was really concerned about was the EPA would certify different hand sanitizers, and they'd say this meets our criteria for killing COVID. But what they didn't tell you was that some of them were toxic to humans. So they were more concerned with killing the COVID and not the toxicity to humans. So I did a little research. It appears that the briquettes are time release, which is a good idea, but they also have a chemical in them that is moderately toxic to fish. And my concern here, and this is very easy to do, is out of sight, out of mind. Once it goes in the catch basin, eventually it makes its way to the river, is that you're bioaccumulating these toxins over a period of time in the river. I don't know what the alternative is. If there's an alternative, it's gotten me thinking, though, that there's got to be a better mousetrap. It would be helpful, I think, if one of you could call the public health department, ask them what other alternatives they looked into, if there are alternatives at this point. If not, I'm seriously thinking of inventing one. But, you know, it is of concern. And it's really interesting because when you look at sort of a lot of the information that's been in the press about what goes into the water supply, you know, after things leave the sewer plant, every drug that people have been taking winds up in the waterway.
Who did you talk to in the health department?
I wrote his name down at home. I'm sort of drawing a blank.
Send it to me, please.
Yeah, if I can, I might have to, I think his name was Andrew, maybe?
I'm not sure.
Andrew, yeah.
Yeah, when you get home, just.
Yeah, he didn't know. You know, the other thing that I didn't have time to research, but if you guys could research, is what options, if any, the municipalities have to request a different option or more information from the health department. I don't know how much authority they do or do not have. Maybe Justin knows the answer to that.
No, I don't. Sorry.
Yeah, no, so you know, just something to think about. And like I said, I was concerned. I said moderately toxic to fish. You know, and the question everyone's like, oh, well, it's just a little bit. Well, how much is a little bit when we keep doing, you know, I don't know. But I think it's something worth looking into. Jim, sorry to hear you're going. You will be sorely missed. You have big shoes to fill, and good luck with your next phase. Are you going to be picking someone to replace him, or is there going to be an election in the fall?
There will be an election in the fall regardless if we pick someone or not. If we pick someone, it'll be up for election in the fall. And I'm not sure whether we will be picking someone or not, or we may just go with 4 councilmen.
So is there an election where people could still run for the seat?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
in November.
Okay. So I just want to mention one other, well, isn't it, usually there's a deadline, isn't there, by May or something?
What's that?
There, I mean, I was thinking from the past, isn't there usually a deadline for people to run for office?
So the vacancy was just created, so slightly different rules apply.
Okay, thanks, Justin. I just want to speak really briefly about the cell tower that may or may not be appearing down the street sometime soon. I just want to say a few things. I filed a motion last week to try to stay it. Now, I don't want to get into the whole, you know, legalities bit by bit of the whole thing, but it's very hard to stay something. It's not just how much they think you're likely to win, it's also a few other tests. And I don't know how the court will see it. I'd be pleasantly surprised if I got it. I don't think I will, so don't be surprised if the cell towers go up on Village Hall and the one by the Senior Center. I just want to make a few comments about it. I mean, I do believe that I will prevail in the end and that I'll be able to get them torn down if I don't get the stay. But I want to say a few things. You know, I usually confine my comments to public officials, but I think also a number of people have called and approached me. Yes, I agree with you. I just don't want to speak out about it, et cetera, and I get that. But to a certain extent, you know, it's kind of like Plato's cave, where people don't seem to understand what's going on in the rest of the country, where people are fighting these things tooth and nail. One of the reasons I was very opposed to this is the transmitters are too low to the ground, and the way radiation physics works is, in many respects, a high cell tower is safer because the radiation sort of goes out in petal-like lobes, and it's lower by the time it gets to ground level. So you're going to have a lot of radiation from these transmitters that are going on Village Hall, and one by the Senior Center near people's houses. I mean, it's really unconscionable. You know, there were a number of other issues with how this sort of got, you know, voted on really quickly without anybody really knowing, without anyone knowing what was going on. They had had one previous meeting where someone had recommended it. One of the things that I had raised is the indemnification clause is not worth the paper it's printed on. And an attorney who'd been fighting the same company in Saugerties made that point to the board that was approving the cell tower, which is that the clause does not protect if the transmitters fall down, if there's wind, ice, fire, etc., and that the reinsurance companies are not reinsuring for radiation risk. And they've made, Lloyd's of London has made a big disclaimer in all of their paperwork about this. This is a real issue. It's happening. There was Pittsfield, Massachusetts tried to put in an order, a cease and desist order on a cell transmitter, because after they put it up, it was another one of these low-to-the-ground jobs. Everyone on the street got sick. So people need to understand that these things are dangerous, that they're being fought by people around the country. So I think that was an issue. One of the other things that I had raised is the International Association of Firefighters has said to all of their firehouses, do not put cell towers on the roof. Their division, I think it's called their Division of Occupational Medicine, put out a position paper, and they said, here's the research we have. We want our first responders being fresh. We don't want them there. So you have village police, and they're going to have this right above them. And I think there is a real concern for the effects over time, just as there were effects on the people who got the cease and desist order for a while in Pittsfield. I'm going to say one last thing about this, and I've had my differences on policy with various boards. I'm going to read you a quote. I took it from the videotape of what happened when they approved this. Jimmy DeSalvo got up and said, if for whatever reason, if we needed to get out of it, if something catastrophic were to happen and there's an issue, and whatever, I don't know, I'm just saying, if it's like any other lease and we deal with the first 5 years, can we just choose not to renew it? And the village attorney said, yes. It's all on videotape. But the contract, which they didn't post on the website, and under the law, they had to post the contract, they had to post the resolutions, and they had to say that they were going to vote on it. That law has since been changed for 24 hours in advance, and I've spoken to lawyers that don't even know about that. So it's important that things be put on the website for the public. But here's what I would have pointed out if they hadn't hid this. The contract gives Verizon the opportunity to get out every 5 years, but the village is stuck with it for 30 years. This agreement shall automatically be extended for 4 additional 5-year terms unless lessee terminates it at the end of the then current term by giving lessor written notice of the intent to terminate at least 3 months prior to the end of the then current term. The initial term and all extensions shall be collectively referred to herein as the term. The very nicest thing I can say is that Jimmy DeSalvo didn't do his homework and doesn't know the difference between a lessor and a lessee, and that he's incompetent, and that the village attorney, the nicest thing I can say is that she committed malpractice. And
Excuse me, Deborah.
I think it's important that people understand this because everyone who works in this building is going to be stuck with the consequences of this. The town didn't speak out. I'm the only one speaking
All
out
right,
about
okay,
it.
I was going to say that it's gotten really, you should be talking to the village board.
Well, I'll tell you why I'm saying it here for 2 reasons. One is I think that the town needs to know. The village passed an ordinance that basically said that they can kick you out with the police if you disparage a board member. It's not actually convenient for me right now to get arrested. I can guarantee you that if I said what I just said here under their ordinance, I'd be arrested. It's unconstitutional, and it never should have been passed. And it's got to be, if this were any other town, it would be more than just me speaking out about this. I have some familiarity, I know my way around the law a bit, but I can't go over there.
Can I ask you to wrap it up, please?
Yes, I can't go over there and speak about it. And I'm going to use the microphone to say one last thing. Jimmy DeSalvo runs the Republican Party. I'm publicly calling for his resignation, and I think anybody else of conscience needs to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, wait, time out.
Mindy Kimball from the CEAC, the Citizens Environmental Advisory Committee. Just really quick, reminding folks that this Wednesday on the 15th at 7 p.m. is the final public information session for the community choice aggregation. It's online. 7 p.m. Wednesday, 15 June, and the link is posted on flyers on both the Facebook page for the SEAC and the town page and the village page.
Excellent. Very good, thank you, thank you. Olga, you all right? Need anything? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
So carried, thank you, everybody.